Okay, so we all know the story of Adam and Eve. Um, Adam, of course, as we explored in the story of Aleph, was made in the image of God, and Eve was just some other shit that came out of his rib. All right, so what does science say? What does science back up the story of Adam and Eve as told to us in the Bible, or does it somehow contradict it with scientific evidence? What do you think is going to happen? Let's find out. So you see this article here published in the Seattle Times, not exactly of scientific repute, but nonetheless, you see the headline. According to scientists, the very first organisms to dare engage in sex were more like Adam and Steve than Adam and Eve. Well, let's start with our very first sentence and see if it's true. So what you're saying is that scientists are saying that the very first organisms to dare engage in sex had Y chromosomes rather than X chromosomes. Is that what you're telling me? That must be what you're telling me, right? Because what is the difference between Adam and Eve on a chromosomal level? It's double X versus XY. So you're telling me that the Y chromosome came first, basically. Because you're telling me that the very first organisms, somehow scientists know what the very first organisms were. Somehow they know that. Okay, we'll give them that. We'll give them that. So according to scientists, the very first organisms to dare engage in sex were more like Adam and Steve. So Adam and Steve are two male names. So you're telling me the first organisms had Y chromosomes. You're telling me that the Y chromosome is predominant over the X chromosome. Is that what you're telling me? Okay, so let's check. Is that true? These are pictures of the chromosomes. Here's the X chromosome and here's the Y chromosome. As you can clearly see from the photo, the X chromosome is far bigger and contains far more data than the Y chromosome. So here's a short list of X and Y variations. As you can see, there's a lot of them. The typical number of chromosomes in each human cell is 46. These include 22 pairs of autosomes and a pair of sex chromosomes, either an X and a Y or two X's. That's a normal person. Variations of these numbers are referred to scientifically as an aneuploidy. Yeah, great. So here's XXY is Klinefelter syndrome. XXX is trisomy X. XYY, it must be some other type of trisomy. XXYY, XXXY, XXXX, XXXXY, and quintuple X. Yes, the 5X variant. There's also a monosomy, where someone is born with only one sex chromosome. The only survivable monosomy is X. This is a female with only one X chromosome, a condition known as Turner syndrome. So you tell me, based on what we've seen here, the information that we've seen here, which one do you think is predominant? The X chromosome or the Y chromosome? Which one do you think came first, if either one of them came first? Because just to update you on what the dogma of the moment is, neither one of them came first. They're going to tell you that the X and Y evolved at the exact same moment. Okay. Yes, the split just happened at this exact moment, and that's how it all happened. So, however, based on what I've shown you here, which one do you think is predominant, the X or the Y? Because amongst all these different variations you can have, there isn't one that doesn't have an X. You have to have the X. There is no Y, 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 Y. Yeah, Y, Y, Y. There is none. Every single one starts with an X. Okay? But for me, the clincher is this. Amongst certain species of insects, a double X chromosome is known to produce what? A hermaphrodite. So X isn't just predominant in terms of size and information, but it also produces a hermaphrodite. So that to me is the clincher as far as the X chromosome is concerned. The X is predominant. It's just a simple fact. Look at the size of the chromosomes. The X is predominant. It's a simple fact. Based on my eyes, of course, who am I? I'm not a I'm not a PhD biologist. Who am I to question what's obviously true? Because they're not there to tell you what's obviously true. They're there to tell you religious dogma. Check this out. History of the Human Female Inferiority Ideas in Evolutionary Biology by Gerald Bergman. Abstract. A review of the prominent late 19th century biological writings revealed that a major plank of early evolution theory was the belief that women were intellectually and physically inferior to men. Female inferiority was a logical conclusion of the Darwinian worldview, because males were believed to be exposed to far greater selective pressures than females. So there's that phrase, believed to be. Believe, what does that mean? Believe how? You mean to tell me we do scientific experiments and we've proven with genetic data that this is true? No, we just believe it? Oh, okay. Especially in war or competition for mates, food, and clothing. Conversely, women were protected from selection by norms that required adult males to provide for and protect women and children. Darwin has taught that as a result of this protection, natural selection operated far more actively on males than on females, producing male superiority in virtually all intellectual and skill areas. As a result, males became more evolved than women. The women inferiority doctrine is an excellent example of the fact that armchair logic often has been more important in building Darwinism than fossil and other empirical evidence. Except it's not armchair logic. It has nothing to do with armchair logic. Replace the phrase armchair logic with religious dogma. Are we still pretending that this is not part of the religion? It's amazing how gullible people are, that they don't see that all these scientists are still members of these religions that believe that women are inferior and don't feel the need to prove it, right? This is supposed to be science, right? Why don't you prove it? But they never have and they never will, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Female and so you mean to tell me, okay, let's assume that this is true. Let's just humor them for a minute, okay? So somehow there's a set of genetics not related to purely sexual characteristics that are only passed on to men. Well, that should be easy to prove. Where's the proof of that? No, we just believe to be in armchair logic. Okay. Because it's not armchair logic or belief, it's religious dogma. That's what it is, and that's what it's always been. So Gerald Bergman doesn't know what the F he's talking about, but at least he's on the right track. But again, let them tell it to you. Adam and Steve are the creators of life. What does that remind you of? Adam and Steve, the two pillars. Adam and Steve, the two horns of the bull. Oh. You mean it's all a bunch of lies that's based on a control religion? You tell me, which chromosome is predominant? Or did they just magically spring into existence at the exact same moment? Well, I'll tell you what, if you are a believer in the science religion, that's what you believe. That is the dogma of your religion. You don't have a choice. You will believe that. No matter what, you don't have the capacity to question it, because to question it would be to question the experts in their fields. Are you an expert in their fields? And so again, Adam and Eve, true or false? Is it a true story or is it a false story? I don't care. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't care. That's like some kind of philosophical riddle or something. Who cares? Well, the people who built the civilization that we live in care very, very much. They care very, very much to let you know that male is number one. Man is first. Man is in the image of God. So they care very much. Me, I don't care. That's like a philosophical question. We have immediate problems on this planet, like the extinction of species and the brainwashing of humanity. So I don't really care about philosophical questions. They're cool, they're interesting to think about. But these guys have built this whole powerful world-dominating religion around a lie. So, in my opinion, maybe you disagree. Since I guess you could say I do have kind of a scientific mind, I'm open to hear the opposing evidence. So, thank you for listening. It's the Great Plague.